call this meeting to order. This is the Auburn School Committee meeting for February 1st, 2023. If we could all stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. A full house today, which is great. Let's see, Meg, turn it over to you.
The vision of the Auburn Public Schools is to educate and prepare students for the opportunities and challenges of a changing world. Our commitment: we will create, maintain, and support an environment that fosters a sense of belonging for all students in our schools, without regard for race, color, sex, religion, national origin, sexual orientation, gender identity, homelessness, poverty, spoken language, and ability.
All right, thank you. And do we have any citizens' comments tonight? All right, seeing none, move on to special recognitions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I am happy to report that this evening we do have a special recognition. We'd like to recognize Honora Murphy. If you'd like to come up, Honora, to the speaker, just in case we have any questions for you. Honora is a senior at Auburn High School, and she recently scored her 1,000th point on Thursday, January 26th, against Grafton High School. And I know it was a very exciting event, and I don't know if you could tell us a little bit about what that felt like.
It felt great, and I couldn't have done it without my team, and it was really nice to have all my family and friends there cheering me on.
Excellent.
That's great.
Good for you. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good job.
So you're going to college on a basketball scholarship, or?
I'm going to Williams College, and I'll play basketball there.
Awesome.
Good for you.
That's a
Thank
hard
you.
school to get into. Good for you.
What
Thank
position?
you. Guard.
Nice. Awesome.
Honora, what do you think you might major in?
I'd like to do something in healthcare someday, so some kind of science, I think.
Excellent.
That's good for you. I know, I saw on Facebook they had a banner made for you.
Yeah, my
that's
parents made that.
Aww.
And now one of your years was a COVID year, so you did this all in what, 3 years?
Yeah, my sophomore season was canceled.
Oh wow! Good for you. That's
that.
amazing. Yeah.
3 years.
Awesome.
Oh my goodness.
Have you been playing ball since you're very small?
Yeah, I think I started in rec in second grade. Yep.
Did your mom teach you how to play?
Yes. Yep.
Well, that's great.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, Honora, not only did you make us proud on the basketball court, but seemingly you make us proud as a student of Auburn High School. So thank you for all you do. Thank you for your hard work. And that was no easy accomplishment. So nicely done.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, thank you. Great
Congratulations.
job. All right.
We would also like to recognize that Mr. Jack Hayes, 92 years old, of Hyannis, Massachusetts, passed away on January 26, 2023. Mr. Hayes was a longtime teacher at Auburn Middle School and Auburn High School, racking up nearly 35 years in the district. He was also a longtime coach for both football and basketball at Auburn High School. I'd like to take a moment for a moment of silence, please, in honor of Mr. Hayes. Thank you.
All right. Does that wrap up?
That wraps up
recognitions?
special recognitions,
Okay.
yes.
Can I get approval for the minutes from January 18th, 2023?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from January 18th, 2023.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And we have Bella and Allie tonight, so I'll let you guys take it away for the student representatives report.
Thank you. So I'll start with an update on the Quebec trip. It was extremely successful. Everyone came back Sunday night. I had a few friends that went, and they said it was beautiful there. Very cold, though, but a great opportunity to practice their French skills. February vacation is right around the corner, which means the Winter Carnival is coming up. We'll start with themed dress-up days voted on by the student body, including PJ Day, Pink Out Day, Jersey Day, Decades Day, and Class Color Day. These will take place February 13th to 17th. The classes will also compete against each other in events like volleyball, chess, trivia, hallway decorating, and art. The class winner will be declared on the last day. Last year's winner was the class of 2023, so we'll see if they can keep up their streak. In terms of extracurriculars, AHS sent 2 We the People teams to compete for the state championship at the Edward M. Kennedy Institute for the U.S. Senate, one of which came in second place, which is incredible.
Wow, that's great. Awesome. All right, Allie, you're up.
Oh, she can hear us?
Allie, can you hear me?
No, I don't think.
No.
Oh, there she is.
Oh, hi.
Oh, no, we can't.
We can't hear you now. Come on.
Give us a minute, Ally.
Digital interface, speakers. Can she hear us now?
How about now, Ally? Can you say something?
She's muted.
It still says she's.
No, it doesn't seem like she can hear us.
Can you hear us, Ellie?
I can't hear her.
No, I can't hear her. Let's see what we're doing here.
10 years off our lives.
Let's see. Microphone works. Speaker. It's these.
The volume at the bottom.
Allie, can you hear us now?
I don't think so.
Can you say anything, Allie?
Oh, it says connecting.
Yeah, she is connected now.
How about now, Ally?
No. Great.
All right, we
Not
might have
gonna
to-
work tonight.
might have to-
Okay,
Can we,
let's try another
we're gonna send
one.
our chat from up there, right?
Let's try that one. Let's try this one.
You know? Our mic-
Can you hear us, Allie?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay,
All right.
I think maybe we're just going to,
Oh, there she said.
audio, we're gonna send my, okay, yes, so she just sent something in the chat, she's gonna send her notes on to, Mandy.
Perfect. All right, well, thank you for trying, Allie.
Thanks, Sally.
Have a great night.
She can see us.
Bye.
Unless we go up, we're gonna send a message from there, right, back to her?
Yeah. Wait a minute, it's in chat. Oh, I can't type.
All right.
Okay. Sorry.
All right, sorry for the technical difficulties.
It's always
Ms.
something.
Williams, maybe you can send her an email and, okay, very good, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we're
tried.
gonna move along. Sorry about the technical difficulties.
All right. I will turn it over to you, Dr. Chamberlain, for the superintendent's report.
Thank you. So now we move on to our spotlight on students, and this evening we have some students from Swanson Road Intermediate School, along with Dr. Lopez and Ms. Forks, and they're going to talk to us about some project-based learning, and they can come up and introduce themselves if they'd like. I'll turn it over to them now.
I'd just like to say thank you for having us this evening. We're very excited to share with you just one of the many wonderful projects that occur during the course of the school year. I have a fantastic teacher to introduce some fantastic students to you, so I'll ask Mrs. Forgs and all the kids to come over.
Bring them with you.
My goodness.
All right, so these are some of my fabulous friends. Our topic one for social studies is early colonization and the growth of the colonies. And as a culminating project, each student had to write a letter of application to apply for a colonial job. And then they researched the job and made a bottle buddy as an image of their colonial worker. So we're going to start with Nicholas George. He is the village blacksmith. I will hold the blacksmith. Okay. Can I start? Yeah.
My colonial job is a blacksmith, and it is a pleasure to be one. My bottle buddy is also a blacksmith. The materials we used were iron, fire, coal, and wood. The tools we used were hammers, bellows, the vise, tongs, foundry, forge, and an anvil. This job is important today because they make so many metal things. This job helps my community in many ways. For homes, they make handles, hinges, and pots and pans. For farms, we make trailers, hitches, hammers, rakes, shovels, hoes, and plows. For other stuff, horseshoes, latches, tools, and rails. About my bottle buddy. My bottle buddy is very cool. He has a hammer and a tiny anvil with hot iron on it just so they represent his job. He has an apron so hot iron doesn't burn them. Also, he has brown jeans. He has black hair and a white shirt. I painted his face and put glue around his head and put black hair on him. I glued eyebrows on him and eyeballs. I drew his mouth with a Sharpie. I put his shirt and pants on with hot glue. Then I put an apron on him for protection, and I made a hammer so he can smash the hot iron. I also made a tiny anvil so he can smash the iron on. It was fun to make this project. I really enjoyed it.
Great job.
And next we have Isabelle D'Souza, one of our farmers. The farmer was such an important job that we actually have two farmers.
Absolutely. Feed everybody.
So, take it away, Izzy.
Farmers are such helpful people. This project was so much fun. I would never choose a test over this. We had so many materials to use. It was like a craft barn. My job was so important because without me and my fellow farmers, there would be no food at all. I was able to produce all the food the colonists needed. My job is still important today because lots of food do rely on farmers. Did you know that 90% of food is made out of crops, fruits, and vegetables that us farmers grow? Honestly, I think we wouldn't be able to live without farmers back then and now.
Very nice.
And Grace George is our other farmer.
This is my bottle buddy. She is a farmer from colonial times. I've learned a lot from this project. I've learned that farmers were important in their communities and how they worked. And this project was one of the funnest activities I've done so far this year. But in addition, I'd like to tell you about my bottle buddy. As you can see, my bottle buddy is holding some kind of tool, which is called a scythe. Scythes were used to cut grass, shrub, and to mow hay. A scythe is a curved blade attached to a long wooden shaft called a snath. Now, if we look at her apron, you can see some vegetables in it, such as a tomato and some meat. She'd wear the apron to protect her clothes from the crops and other, like dirt and mud. And I had added a hat on her head so she would be able to see and not get blinded by the sun. All in all, this was an extremely interesting project and it was a great thing that it was fun and I learned a lot.
Very nice.
And we have Allison Stolman. She is our printer. I'm going to read what she wrote, but you can come up and show your fabulous printer. My bottle buddy is the town printer. The printer used materials like paper and ink. The printer used tools like the printing press, type, and stamps. Colonial printers printed all the newspapers, books, legal documents, proclamations, and pamphlets. In modern times, printers aren't needed as much. Now we have electronic printers to use instead of the printing press.
Very nice.
And last but not least, we have our silversmith, David Doherty.
Silversmiths were very important back then. Back then, silversmiths made cups, plates, spoons, forks, basically all types of silverware. The materials they used were silver coins. The best material was ingots. They held the most silver that was strong. Silver coins was not as strong as silver ingots, so they melted them into ingots. Silversmiths used many different tools, including hammers, files, anvils, polishes, abrasives, and fire. Silversmiths aren't as important now as they were back then. Today they only make jewelry. Hopefully now you know a little bit more about silversmithing. But now for my bottle buddy. His name is the Italian silversmith. That's literally his name if you go ask his mother. He will show you his birth certificate and it will actually say the Italian silversmith.
Very nice.
On a side note, the entire fifth grade participated in this project. Some worked on it at home, others worked on it during class. But it's a nice project that kind of unifies us all and something for everyone to talk about, yes? I'm so proud of them. They did such a great job.
That's great. Great. Any questions from or comments?
Yes, the field trip that I know of when I was teaching was to Old Sturbridge Village. Did the fifth grade get to go, or are they going, or?
The team decided to go, this is the first year that we decided to go a different route. We will be going to hopefully, did that go through yet? Yes, the Boston Museum of Science.
Okay.
Should be coming our way soon.
Well, I love to go to Old Sturbridge Village, and this reminded me so much of the people in attendance as you walk around, and yeah, it's quite the experience to imagine
So
what it was like to live back then.
They look authentic.
They do.
They did, yeah.
Awesome.
They're way better than my daughters when they had to do it. So good job, guys.
Fun project over the past couple of years.
Nice job, guys. Awesome.
Can you see them? Nice job.
Excellent job. So
And do you mind walking them through?
if you want to just come on up and we can shake hands, and then everybody is free to go. So thank you for coming.
Looks so great. Pass it down. Okay. Good job. Okay. Wow.
Come on up, Dave, we're going to shake your hand.
I know, that's great. We're gonna shake your hand.
Nice job.
And we're gonna
Nice to see you.
So
Excellent.
excited.
Way out.
Very cute.
So cute.
Awesome job.
Nice job. Nice job. Very nice. It's very authentic, yeah.
So this is the Italian.
What do you put on the inside, right? Great job.
Yeah.
Good job, honey.
Did he learn his trade in Italy?
Yeah.
Very nice. Done, Frank. Good to see you. Did an excellent job speaking, and your project is wonderful.
Excellent. Sure. Our fifth grade does something very awesome. I love them.
Great job. Nice job.
Very nice.
And the vegetables too. Hi, how are you? I'm good. Great job speaking. And your project was awesome. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Congratulations. Very nicely done. Where they need big muscles.
Fantastic.
Very nice.
On your endeavors next year. This will be awesome. I'm excited. Yeah. Good. Good for you. Awesome.
The women all want to have it. Support the crops.
Like the best.
And then
Great job.
over the fire.
Love it.
So nice to see you. Thank you so much and congratulations. I bet she made her a wonderful, wonderful outfit too. I love it.
I love this project.
Thank you guys for coming.
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, I like it. I have her.
It's just funny, I was saying to someone the other day, I'm like, the hair's kind of falling off. It's a crazy thing that time flies by until you get. And this year, I'm like, as a backup.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great night. Thank you.
Super job.
Thank you.
Bye. Have a good night.
I could have never got in the basket. I cheered for the team and they looked at me like.
It's good to see you. Take care.
Congratulations. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming. It was great.
Good job. Enjoy the rest of your senior year.
Yeah.
Oh, bye. Be nice, everyone.
Mrs. Forbes, we have to finish.
Good night. Thank you for coming. Have a good night, guys. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Mrs. Forks.
That was fun. Oh, that was great.
Through the chair, if I can just say that I have to say, since being on here, I'm so impressed every week the way the students speak, the confidence they have standing up there and speaking. I did not have that at that age, and it's so nice to see.
I agree, 100%. Good.
Great skills to have.
Yeah.
Adorable.
Yeah.
So cute.
Awesome.
There is one more thing in Spotlight. It wasn't included in your packet, but included on the table this evening. There are just some photos from the trip to Quebec. The students will be coming to speak with us at the next meeting, so you'll hear more about that. But that's the email that I received from the teacher about how proud she was and how well our students represented Auburn. So I just thought the pictures were great, so I thought I would share since we don't often get to see those things. So they will come and speak with you at the next meeting.
Excellent. Great. Something to look forward to.
The pictures, I think, just look amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
It's like a great group.
And when the pictures are that good, you know it was even better in person.
Yeah. All smiles.
Forward to hearing about nice weather, too.
Yeah, yep.
Cool. All right. Great. All right. We will move on to unfinished business.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you all know, at our last meeting, the 2023-2024 school calendar was presented, with the biggest change being a move from 3 half-days to 5 half-days for the calendar for the coming year. And there was interest by the committee and some additional information with what what other districts do related to that and how we compared to that. So you do have a graph in your packet, not a graph, a table. And we kind of fall middle of the pack as far as the number of half-days, with many of the surrounding communities, Grafton, Leicester, Northbridge, Shrewsbury, Tantascwa, Wachusett, having 5 half-days. The full days vary, and then there are, as you'll see on, for Douglas, Millbury, and Dudley Charlton, in that other column, there are districts that have half-days for some schools, but not all schools, right? So they might, I suspect they may do conferences for elementary and maybe not middle or high, or whatever that, I'm not sure specifically what those were. So, I think, as I suspected we might find, there's a range of differences in how people do it, right? And what districts feel are important and how much they need as far as time to get the work done that they plan on. And I also went back through the reason why we're asking for the 5 half-days compared to the 3 that we have now. And if I look at what we would do with the 5 days in the next school year, we already know we want to dedicate 2 of the half-days to something related to the work that we began this year with the Anti-Defamation League. So related to bias or microaggressions or helping kids manage conflict when it's related to race or whatever it might be. So there'll be 2 half-days, and those 2 half-days, like we did this year, we invited everyone to come. So we invited IAs and ABAs and teachers and every secretaries, because we felt like those are important things for everybody to hear. And we would hope to do that again next year. So that would include all our staff. One of the days is dedicated to parent-teacher conferences. That's the November day, is when parent-teacher conferences would take place. The day in May is really put aside for student placement and transition meetings for the coming year, particularly at the elementary school. That's their big chunk of time where they begin to create classes for the next year. But then all across the district, guidance staff and teachers are meeting to prepare for students who might need some special attention as they transition to a new building or a new grade level. And then beyond that, we always have a data meeting, or a school needs like a school improvement day where they have teams that talk about how they can make their school better. So the other day might be a little bit more flexible, and what happens on that half day might be a little different school to school. But it would be, in speaking with the principals and with the AEA, we feel like this is an important amount of time to have. I think one of the issues that was raised related to this is that we don't offer childcare. And the reason we don't offer childcare is because many of our staff members are those that are providing the childcare. And so they can't do both, right? They can't do the professional development and take care of the students in the afternoon. Another issue that was raised was around space. So at the elementary schools, not so much Swiss, but at Bryn Mawr and Packagug, the only big space they have is their gym, right? I used to call it the Cafe Gymatorium because it housed everything. And so if students are there, that's really the only space you can have students for satellite. It makes it difficult to have a space for training on those half days as well. But we feel like we need this. We have I think, some real momentum on some very important issues. Anti-Defamation League and bias training, universal design for learning. And we need to move into some things around trauma-informed teaching, because as we know, we have students in classrooms with a variety of needs. And you don't get that in an hour-long training. It's going to take us years, and we have to commit to this over the long term. So I respect that childcare is difficult for families, so I don't want our need to have these 5 half days to come across that we don't care and that we're only thinking about ourselves. And the way we tried to show that when we created this calendar was to try and attach it to Fridays, right? To not plop it in the middle of the week, which I know was difficult for many. And so seemingly, potentially, right, there could be a weekend, right? Attached to a weekend might be a little bit easier to get that time off to do that. What I will say is we did look at our satellite staffing to see if it is at all possible to offer childcare on those half days. On the 2 days where we're looking to have all our staff, that would not be possible, right? Because I can't have people, as I say, outsiders, right, coming in and running that who typically don't do that. But what I can tell the committee is that I would work in the coming months to see if on those remaining 3 days, if there's a way that we could work it out by using more of our support staff, who might have to take the place of our teaching staff. Obviously, we would have to pay them, and it would obviously be their choice to do so. I can't make them stay on those half days, nor would I want to. But could we say for these 3 days, some of our support staff who may not have typically worked satellite, would you just do these 3 days until 4 o'clock? So on a half day, we don't run it till 6. We still would only run it till 4. But at least it gives parents through the afternoon. So I would commit to trying to make that work by soliciting staff, because I feel that these 5 half days are really important to us continuing to move this work along. So I welcome any questions you may have about the findings that we looked into. And one more thing about childcare. So many of the districts around us, I should say some of the districts around us do offer it on their half days, childcare. The ones that do not for the same reason that we don't. It's because it's staffed by their staff, and that just complicates how you offer the PD when those are the people taking care of the kids. So that was kind of a mixed bag. And some of the other bigger districts have things like the Boys and Girls Club, who always run their after-school programming, so it's easy for them to continue to do it on a half day. So Mandy helped with a lot of the legwork around trying to solicit information from districts and that kind of thing. So I put it to the committee. I welcome any questions you might have, but I really feel like we need the 5 days, the 5 half days, along with the 4 full.
All right, I'll open it up to you guys if you have questions or.
Through the chair, I'm gearing towards 4. I appreciate the 3 days of satellite staffing. I'm wondering if the data in the school-specific meeting in some ways could be worked into the full-time days or pulling teachers at times during the day at all. And again, historically, when I got onto school committee and I was running, this was the big thing. Auburn is a working parent town. The majority of our parents are two parents, and not to say that school is childcare, because it's not. And I think a lot of these are important, but I'd like to meet in the middle personally, but that's just me.
Through the chair, I have a concern about the March. That's a day and a half that like a working parent needs to now find childcare for. So I'm tending to lean towards what Megan is saying, is that if we meet in the middle this year at 4, and then we maybe pull the parents next year and say, before, October and say, hey, listen, our plan right now is 4 days for this year. We'd really like to add an additional half day. How do you feel about it? Just like we did with the day before vacation. And I came in and I was like, I don't like that, but parents liked it, so I have no leg to stand on. So if parents come and say, we're fine with 5 half days, the majority of parents say that, then I feel like I don't have a leg to stand on that at that point. But I think that like that day and a half in March is like, I'm gonna have to take a half day one of those days so that my husband doesn't take a full day and a half off of work. So I think I have a little issue with that half day in March myself.
Through the chair, what is the half day in March for? Do we have like a schedule for that day?
That would probably, this year it's the Anti-Defamation League work.
Okay.
So I suspect it might be the same. And the reason we did that was because that rollover to some of that, to having another day, kind of, you can make more connections with having a concerted amount of time together. We are trying that for the first time this year. We will have that this March, that we have a day and a half together.
Chair, I'm just wondering if I'm seeing both sides of the situation here, because obviously I want to look at parents' concerns and obviously teacher concerns. So I'm trying to see both sides. And after listening to Sam, I'm kind of wondering the same thing. Is there a way to do 4 next year with the maybe getting 5 the following year? And looking at what these days are for, can we combine 2 of these things? Is that possible into that half day? Into one? So we
What do
can
you mean
take away.
combined? Combined?
Right, like, say, a data meeting and, I don't know, something. One of the parent-teacher, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out a way to make it feasible to both sides.
Yeah.
And I know, so when Meg came on and there were all those complaints, those were the years that we had 10 half days. So I want that to be clear. There was a half day, every month.
Every month.
We had one every single month.
Wow.
And so I understand that people were, that was very difficult, and they were all on Wednesday so that they were attached to our faculty meeting days. So the teachers stayed till, through their faculty meeting time. So I agree, and I don't anticipate, I'll never say never about anything. I don't anticipate that next year I'm going to say, let's have 6, and the next year let's have 7. I think in looking at this, we tried to really balance the whole, over the course of the year, with how the year kind of ebbs and flows and what you need to do and talk about as the year goes on. And thinking that this spread this out, I thought in a fair way, understanding that we have to weigh both sides of the coin. So this is not the 10 that I think initiated many of those complaints way back, which was a lot. And I think we had that for 2 years.
I don't know.
It was either 2 or 3 years that we had a lot of the half days, and there was one every single month.
I can remember when it was every month.
Yeah.
I remember.
And I know it was at least 2 calendar years. It might have been 3, right, Cecilia? You recall? Yeah. And I agree that was a lot, but that is not this. And so I hate to look at half days based on what was a different situation, I guess. It was just different.
Well, I think you've reached out by moving them to Fridays. I think that's a positive. And a half day counts as a full school day, so that's good. And the fact that you're going to look into getting coverage for parents for after the afternoons, I think the school is being quite cooperative with trying to mitigate any damages that the half days cause.
That would be for kids who are already in the satellite program,
No,
or all kids.
Yeah, no, we wouldn't be able to
Yeah, it would
manage
be
all
the
kids.
satellite
But those were those are typically the folks that,
need the coverage.
need the coverage. I mean, not all, but, so there would still be some that would be impacted by it, but
But I mean, between family and neighbors and stuff, I find it hard to believe that
yeah.
people can't find help.
The other piece of this is that, DESE wants principals to be instructional leaders. And they work their hardest to do that during the day. But these are the moments that they bring their input and their guidance and their knowledge and they bring their staffs together, right? They're the rallying person for the things that we're trying to move forward. And these times are important to them too, to be those instructional leaders that they are mandated to be.
So through the, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No,
Oh, through the chair, what are the 4 full days? Because I'm wondering if that can also be used. I know 2 are at the beginning of the year. Can we use that time as well to
So
kind of
those-
gear some of those in?
yeah. So those days are jam-packed. So last year we did the one day, and that did not,
Yeah, that was
that
bad.
wasn't enough time. So we know that already. So all the things that happened on that one day are going to take up another one day and beyond. There were a lot of grade level team meetings, a lot of meetings around, in preparing for incoming students. So, getting support staff and teachers ready for students that might have IEPs or 504s to give them some additional time to prepare to receive them. Grade level team meetings that happened, we're looking at possibilities for, at least at the elementary schools, for kids to at least come to the school on those days, which we've historically done, which was very difficult last year. And then we still have, so those are the first 2 days. And, I know the committee expressed interest in allowing teachers some time on those days to get their classrooms ready. And then the other 2 days, we are still under, that's our 3rd year of Universal Design for Learning. So both of those full days will be taken up with UDL next year.
So 2 full days on UDL and then 1 half day on UDL. I'm wondering if that could be.
No,
Or-
the half day, there's 2 half days on ADL, and the
Oh,
anti-defamation.
anti-defamation.
Yeah, I know, I get the ADL and the UDL and stuff. Yeah, so there'll be 2 half days with that.
Through the chair, I have one quick question. Just looking at the January and March and thinking of weather-wise, if there's a snow day that happens, what happens to that half day?
It goes away, because
So they
we
won't-
can't then
So you won't
reschedule
get the
it.
opportunity to do,
No, we can't then reschedule it. I don't think those have ever been rescheduled in the
No, I don't
past.
think so.
You can't,
okay,
that's a whole change to the calendar when that happens.
okay.
Yeah, I would rather not put this off again because the public's waiting for a school calendar and a lot hinges on this. I've talked to Beth at length about this. As a side note, thank you, Mandy, for doing all of the legwork to get this ready. I know you guys have a lot going on, so I think in a post-COVID world, we're all trying to still catch up on things. If the staff is saying they need this time, I don't know how we can say you don't get this time. I don't know. That my role on the school committee has always been, like keeping great staff. They are teaching our students and we're getting great students from it. And I mean, I appreciate the parents. I feel for them. I have kids. I know what it's like. It's difficult. It is very difficult. And when my kids were little, we had the 10 half days and I was ripping my hair out. But now we're down to 5. And I honestly think like they're all useful days. I think it's just going to come down to a vote, really. It's everyone's personal opinion. I don't want to put this off again. I do think for next year, we should have a couple calendars to look at prior to, and maybe we go a couple meetings thinking it over, talking it over, whatever. But I mean, do we do 5 this year and then revisit next year?
Or 4 this year and revisit. I mean, I think a survey next year would be great for parents and teachers to see how beneficial they find. I mean, the teachers find it, and then parents. Okay, what is the demographic that we're working with in our town, and how challenging is that for them?
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to put it off again, and I
Oh
don't.
no, I don't want to
like.
not for next year, not
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
I think we need to just make a decision.
Yeah, I think we need to make a decision tonight. I think you've gone above and beyond. We're going to have satellite for a couple of the days, so really the people are only scrambling for 1 half day, or what was it, 2 half days?
Unless we drop it to 4 and then 1.
So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, and parents will know even going into it, giving them a year or almost a year notice, like this is what it's going to be. It's better than it used to be 10. So we're down to 5.
And we're not outrageous as compared to other districts, sort of thing.
If we look at, so what I did here and what I'm coming at is if I look at the district half days, so I took those and I divided them by 2 to put in full time and added them with the full PD days. Webster's higher than us, so they're, if you put it all together, they're at 8.5. We're in the next highest cohort with 6.5 days total. With Millbury, I did this really quick and I'm really tired today, sorry. Millbury, Auburn, Leicester, and Northbridge are all in the 6.5 range. Everyone else is below us on full days. If you put all the days together.
Yeah, because, Douglas, Millbury, Dudley Charlton's the same as us. Webster is higher. The calculation on Northbridge is, not Northbridge, on Leicester is wrong.
If you're adding like the school day specific, like, is that something we could do? That would probably be a union issue, but like,
6.5 for Leicester.
if you, just, although that wouldn't help because that's where the parents have the trouble is the parent-teacher conferences.
Yeah.
And I just think our staff, they were strong. They all stayed through COVID. If they need this half day, then we got to give them the half day, we've got a lot that we're rolling out next year. We have a lot of new information coming at them, new textbooks, new this, new that, everything. There's a lot coming up. There's a lot going on.
You can't do it after school.
No, you can't. And these people have families too. And I mean, I could go on and on. I think it comes down to a vote and,
Yeah, and as I pointed out the last time, we did go from 26 of faculty meetings down to 21 with the last contract as well. So that limited the time that we had previously after school as well. Even though the after school is tough because it's an hour, which really isn't an hour because by the time people get there and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's useful, but it's a limited usefulness for those short periods of time.
Through the chair, just want to, from the teacher perspective, like, so many, like, all the days are wonderful, but sometimes there are professional developments, and every person that's been an educator in this room knows there are PDs that like pertain to some people and not others, and there are days where you're like, why am I doing this? So,
Well, and I just have to interrupt with that because this was also vetted by the AEA. And I will tell you that since I took the role as assistant superintendent, I have worked really hard to make that not be the case.
Yeah.
Because you're right, that is true in places.
Very true.
I want to push back that I
Yeah.
do not believe that's the case here. Now,
I just want to make sure that all the PD days that were,
and the AEA looked at this very favorably. They were very pleased with the calendar, so. And that's just the leadership. I didn't show it widely, obviously, because I need your approval for that. But I wanted their input from an educator's perspective, with them knowing what the initiatives are that we're trying to move forward.
I just want to make sure that the staff feel like they're getting what works for them.
I agree with you. Yep.
this seems to be what works for them. But, all right, well, let's, we ready to vote?
Sure.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the suggested calendar with the 5 half-days
I'll
for
second.
next year.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye. No?
No.
And no.
Abstain.
Okay. Okay.
So we have 3 ayes, a no, and an abstention.
That's majority.
Yeah.
That's good.
All right. Can we revisit this next year as well?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and
see
I'm
how it
happy to
goes
do
there.
a survey. I really am. I really didn't, I know, 2 additional from this year is, I didn't anticipate it when I was looking at it through the lens of really what our staff needs. And I feel very strongly that they need this time to do what they need to do to make it right by kids. So I will do my best to see what I can do around providing satellite on those days, on 3 of the days. And then we can certainly
Solve a lot
look
of
into this. What I know about things like this is that you never make everyone happy. And you just don't. And that's what I tried to be really reasonable about the placement of these, the frequency of them for that reason. I don't want to inconvenience parents, but I know that there is work we can't do unless we do these. So it's walking that tightrope. So we can do a survey and we're going to hear a lot of things, right? just like looking at the list of half-days, there's a variation. It's what everybody, it's gonna be different everywhere. There's no one set way that works for everybody. But I'm happy to revisit this. I'm happy to look at it in a different way next year. I have no problem with that at all.
And because maybe next year we're not the UDL or no, those are the full ADL. Like once that
UDL are the full
initiative,
days.
yeah. So once that initiative's done, maybe we can drop it back down to 3 or 2 at that point. So we could readdress it at that point if that initiative.
I want to be cautious about that because education changes all the time. We don't stop learning. We don't stop moving forward. So
Something else might replace it.
the one day, I think, the one year, was it 2 years ago, we only had one half day? It was awful for us. We couldn't get anything done. You couldn't have any big meetings with anyone. And I know people, want us to be everything all the time to everyone, but we need some things too, to get some things done. And that year with that one half day, we're like, well, when are we gonna do it? Well, we had no time to do it. And so things didn't get done like they should have gotten done, and we don't want that to happen either. This is going to have a direct impact on kids and their experiences. I don't know. I just can't imagine that we're gonna stop being those learners that we need to be to have our kids be the learners we want them to be, so.
Through the chair, I just want to make sure that like we are asking after next year, that we ask the parents, like how they feel about, not necessarily getting rid of any days, but like, how do you feel about the 5 half days? If we have an overwhelming amount of parents that are fine with it, then we continue. If we have an overwhelming amount of parents that are like, no way, we can't do this many, then we revisit, So I think that we just need to like, just like we did with the day before, after vacation. I personally didn't love it, but Beth, you polled the parents and they liked it and the teachers liked it, so I have nothing to back me, so I can't say anything. So hence why I didn't put up a fight on that one, So I just want to hear from the parents and see what they think, and teachers.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Yep, I think that's fair.
All right. Well, let's move on from this.
Until next year.
Deal with this in September. All right. Well, thank you guys for your input, truly. And it does matter, and what the parents think matters, and what the staff thinks matters. And we don't have an easy job, and we do this for free. So
Yeah, and it's hard. I
put our necks out there, and trying to do what's best for everyone.
I'd love to hear from people next year if they have an idea, because I have Fridays off, so it doesn't impact me.
But I do think in post-COVID, we're still in recovery. I know it's old and no one wants to talk about it anymore, but we're still recovering from that.
Oh, yeah.
And our staff is still recovering, and our kids are in need, and they are trying to recover. So
Absolutely.
anyway, I think it will be good for next year, and we'll revisit and poll parents and all that. So good stuff. All right, let's move on to new business.
Okay, new business. So this is, in your packet, you will find my findings for my entry plan, which was given to you and approved by you earlier this school year. So I won't go through every little bit of the findings. There's a brief letter at the beginning. If you go to page 3, which at the top it says Phase 1 ongoing work, because I was in a little different situation than many superintendents, right? Because I was already here, I was kind of already in that role for a bit, so felt there were some things that just needed to continue. So build a communication structure and protocol across the district, which I think, I continue to do my communication. I work with principals around theirs. I had a bunch of family listening sessions. I meet with families. We have ongoing surveys with families for a variety of topics, which we'll continue to do. And we continue to talk about better ways to communicate. So what else can we do to get information out to families? So that's going to be an ongoing topic. I think it changes based on the topic with how to get it out in the proper way. We also elicited Facebook a lot this year when we had a number of busing issues that we communicated that, and I did get some good feedback about that, because seemingly that's a quicker way for folks to get that. The next one was around the safety and healthcare protocols. I continue to have regular meetings with the district safety team. We have one tomorrow. I meet regularly with the resource officer, police chief, and fire chief. Our building-based safety teams are thriving and meet regularly. That had kind of fallen to the wayside a little bit, I'll be honest, during COVID, because you couldn't, some of the meetings and kids weren't in school and all of that. So that's much, much better. And I speak with the lead nurse and the Auburn Board of Health regularly. We just ran a flu clinic with the Board of Health that was held at Auburn High School. So we continue to have those collaborations. And likewise with town-based groups. I won't go through all these things, but I can't say enough about the folks in the town, whether it's AYFS or Ed Kazanovich as a new town manager or whoever it is, police chief, fire chief. Auburn is a community like no other when it comes to that kind of collaboration. And I can't say enough about it because it makes everybody's job better.
Agreed.
The next page, does anybody have any questions about any of that? That's kind of ongoing things.
Did you ever utilize Twitter? I know it's.
I don't.
No.
I don't.
That's still a thing?
I don't know. I mean,
Still a thing. It's still a
I don't know,
thing.
I've never had it.
It's more I can imagine Beth tweeting. Be like, oh, wait a second, I'm tweeting everyone.
it was not Mary Ellen to tweet.
Yeah. I haven't gone that path yet.
Do you see a need for it though? I don't feel like
It's quicker. It would be, blasting out information than Facebook. You have to kind of thread through everything.
Yeah.
I've never.
Whatever. It's all the same
Never had
stuff,
Twitter. I don't know what it.
I have. I never looked at it, so I would never use it.
Sometimes I think a little hesitation on communication is a good thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes, sometimes.
All right. Sorry to interrupt.
That's okay. The next page talks about some of the new work that was outlined in the entry plan, and a lot of that was around the listening sessions with staff, families, and students at each building, along with surveys that were conducted at each of those levels with each of those groups, and how that all kind of built into, how we can build that into our strategic plan. So at the bottom, you'll see some of the feedback from the surveys that I received from the students. The great part is that most of our students feel like they belong, they feel like they're accepted, and they have a positive connection with at least one adult in the school. Personally, I won't be satisfied until this is 100%, but I think over 90% is pretty good for the start. All the kids talked about how much they love their teachers, their friends. Lunch was a big.
That's very funny.
Is this?
I started laughing. That'd be my husband. I love
Very
lunch.
big. Well, I will tell you, at the middle school, they did do some work around they didn't make the lunch longer, but they're utilizing their lines a little differently so that the lines are, one line is not particularly long with the other one being short, so they're working on that.
Went for longer lunch. So funny.
Yeah. Lunch is a big
Yeah.
deal, so.
Gotta have lunch.
Now, is there a way to make longer lunch, or is it more the line issue at these schools?
I think it's more the line issue. The thing is, and kids say they want, now, I am a long-time lunch supervisor.
Yeah.
They talk.
Hey, you don't need
want a longer lunch.
10 minutes.
And then the rest is shenanigans. Yeah. Shenanigans.
Staff do not want a longer lunch.
Right?
Absolutely.
So, do we need to make sure that they can quickly get their
Get their
food
lunch,
and
yeah.
sit down and eat? Yes, we do.
Yeah.
But as far as making lunch like I used to trade my lunch duty for a recess duty when I was a kindergarten IA because I was like, I just want to be outside. Because if you had a half-hour lunch, it was just shenanigans. That's all it was. It was managing shenanigans after that.
I
So,
can tell you, if you ask any instructional assistant or teacher that's covering lunch, they would like lunch to be at least 10, 15 minutes shorter.
yeah.
And then if you ask the teachers that are eating lunch, they would like lunch longer. But
yeah.
the people that are in that lunchroom, I swear, their watches must be like, you have reached ultimate threshold of hearing level. Like, it is very loud, it's crazy, there's food everywhere.
Can I just interject too? I know that in talking to the principals too, if somebody hasn't finished their lunch, the
Yes.
kids have the opportunity to finish their lunch.
That's
and
right.
then
They do let us
yeah.
stay. Yeah. So it's not like, nope, time's up. You're out. And we used to do that all the time because some days were like a big lunch day and so kids were didn't have
Yeah,
as much
depending on
time
what
and
it
so
was
you let them
served.
stay.
Yeah.
And I will say, my seventh grader brings her lunch because she said she doesn't have enough time to eat and it comes home full.
Yeah.
So I know she's had time to eat because she went straight to her seat, but
Yeah.
she's still not eating. So yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lot of food.
But mouth
around.
is going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're planning their weekends and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
Same problem with my high school.
yeah,
Yeah.
Do you even?
you can give them more
wasting one?
time. They're just gonna talk longer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway.
But they all in their own way, at Swiss, they talked about a kindness club, right? At the other levels, it was around bullying and making sure that there weren't microaggressions, right? It kind of went through the gamut.
Yeah.
Throughout all of that, through the focus groups, all of the kids said, you know, we're not complaining, we love our school.
Yeah.
We love our school, right? But no school is perfect, right? We all have those things we can work on. So I thought it was interesting. I thought it was interesting that there was a lot of similarity around
Yeah,
what kids
between
said. You know what I mean? Said in a different way and at an age-appropriate manner, but similar with what they came back on.
I mean, the high school kids, 97% feel they're accepted for who they are. That is, we have been doing amazing things over there.
Yes, yes.
That's really good.
Yeah. So if we go to, then, so the next page really kind of lay out all the strengths in a more global way. Relationships, right? So we continue to focus on relationships, but kids feel like they have that. They have a trusting adult. They feel like they belong. They really like their teachers. They like their schools. It was clear from staff that they really want to learn more about kids with their varied needs, students of color, LGBTQ students, students with IEPs, de-escalation techniques. I was actually at the high school today for their faculty meeting. Mr. Keller and Mr. Walton, our Director of Pupil Services, had our trainers that do CPI training, which is really restraint training, but embedded in that are de-escalation techniques.
Yeah.
And so I sat through the presentation at the high school today that, it was actually Jessica Pitzilides, who's the assistant principal at Swanson. She did the presentation. It was fabulous. And they did a little survey of staff afterwards, just talking about how we all feel when we get stressed. So they gave out balloons to people. And they said, okay, so if you woke up this morning, your alarm went off and you hit snooze, blow a little bit into the balloon. Now you got in your car and you hit a little bit of traffic, blow into the balloon. You got to Dunkin' Donuts, the line was too long because you were late, so you couldn't get coffee. You had to get to a right? And it was just a visual representation of the stresses that we can all come to school with. And then they talked about, but now someone found a K-cup and made your coffee. Let a little air out, right? A student said you're their favorite teacher. Let a little air out. And how the relationships and the interactions you have can either make it worse or make it better. And it was really terrific. So, and they were all so interested in it, and very happy with what happened today. So, you know, that's our great staff, right? They want to do what they need to, they want to learn what they need to learn to help our kids. I heard from families about social emotional teaching at all levels, right? I think we do a really bang-up job at the elementary levels and even somewhat through middle school. We seem to think kids are more prepared to just handle it at the high school, and we need to look at that. They're learning for training on how to support their kids with mental health issues, drug use, vaping, those kind of things. And again, Mr. Keller and Mr. Walton are working on getting some presenters in that we could have in the evening for families. We're in great shape with our curriculum materials and resources. We're working on firming up kind of a cyclical replacement, but we're going to use some ESSER money for that. Our technology still serves us well. Teachers look at data to make decisions about remediation and extension activities. Our kids do pretty well on standardized tests. UDL is already showing a positive impact on learning. And our ADL work has also been well received by staff, and that will benefit our students for their cultural competency. So those are all really good things as a, you know, a big overall look that are happening. Some of the opportunities that come out of this is that our students of color, students on IEPs, some of our underrepresented students need a little bit more attention because they do face challenges in our schools. And some of the things we're looking at are student leadership opportunities with a student advisory block, a student advisory block, more training for staff and students on microaggressions and bias. What is it, you know, our kids need that too, and we're looking to bring that in for our students next year. And again, work around LGBTQ and transitioning students and transgender students. We're going to work with Safe Schools to do that. That's showing up earlier and earlier.
Yes.
And what happens is it's not necessarily that they want to talk about it or advertise it, but it gives them a lot of anxiety in school, right? So we have to address that. Mental health challenges came up without a doubt. There was a suggestion from a student about an anonymous tip line. We set in on a training about that today, not a training, but a presentation about that today to see, we're gonna have to see if we can figure out a way to do that. There is a grant through Safer Schools to bring that in, and it would be a tip line that way you can report potential incidents of violence, or you can report a need for mental health support and find a way to access that. So our students and staff need to know more about how to manage mental health issues, right? So that's going to be ongoing. As well as we heard from kids that, the staff really need to understand how their mental health impacts their ability to learn.
Yeah.
Right? Students talked about more choice in learning, which we're addressing through UDL. They want meaningful homework assignments. They don't want just kind of,
Busy work.
do every other problem out of 100. I remember those days.
Oh, I remember
all the
those.
even, all the odds, right?
All the evens, all the odds.
Yeah. Choice in learning. And they talked about group work versus individual work. Some kids really wanted more group work. Some kids really wanted more individual work. Some kids didn't like that, right? So can we build that choice in there? Hands-on project-based learning, which we saw tonight. How they express their learning, different ways to do that, right? Can they do make believe they're a newscaster when they're talking about a particular issue that's going on in the community versus writing a paper?
Yeah.
Different ways to assess what they know, and to begin to look at, and we've already started this, curriculum materials and lessons with positive representations of underrepresented groups, right? So some of the kids talked about, well, it's Black History Month, so we'll talk about Black scientists and everything, but can't we do that all the time?
Yeah.
Does it have to be during Black History Month?
Yeah.
And there's more of that now. Curriculum materials are more so addressing that, but it's been a bit of a long time coming.
Sorry to interrupt, Beth. Through the chair, the choice in learning is the basis of UDL.
It is.
So hopefully,
It
by next year, we'll start getting more of that. And I know, like I said last time, when my kid comes home and she's like, I got to pick this, they are really more trying to get choices in their own learning. So it is, so they're kind of saying, this is what we want.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
Yep. We continue to look at our subgroups performing at or below the state average. We can send this out to you electronically if we've not done already. That's a link to how our kids do. This is particularly seen with some of our special needs
I thought I
students.
was putting my stuff over there.
So we're working on that. We actually have another meeting to discuss progress tomorrow with principals. We want to make sure that our underrepresented student groups have access to higher level coursework, AP classes, honors classes, because we know that kids get stuck in a cycle of very low level classes. They never come out of it. They never go on to achieve a higher level of work. Families still want more communication, and to be able to participate and be involved in events and initiatives, right? So much like we talked about tonight with the calendar, so be it, or other things that we can ask for inclusion in that decision-making process. Again, resources around vaping, social media, drug use, mental health issues. And again, we come down to bullying and cyberbullying. That continues to be an issue. And Mr. Keller's just done a lot of great work on firming up the bullying investigation process for principals so that they kind of have a flow chart to go through. They have all the materials they need. They don't miss a step, right? They don't forget to do something with, either the aggressor or the victim. So that's really been helpful, but that's something that we're making a concerted effort to make sure that we don't say, well, this was just someone not being nice. Now, in some cases, that's exactly what it is. It's someone not being nice. It's not bullying. But we need to make sure that we do a thorough enough investigation to know whether it is or it isn't, and then follow through with what needs to happen.
Yeah.
That's our responsibility to our kids and to our community. So a lot of work still to be done on that.
Through the chair, my biggest concern, I think, with especially early, middle, and Swiss and PAC and Bryn Mawr is the understanding of what bullying actually is. And I think that's something that the building principals really need to work on with the kids at some point during the year is do you understand what bullying actually is? Because a lot of times someone going up and down the hall and saying oh, I don't like your hair today, that's not bullying. It has to be I think it's a lack of understanding. So I think that, I think everything that was said in here was there were multiple things let's be kind, let's be nice. I think I think kids right now, I've tried to ask my own kids, like, do you really understand what bullying is? Because my fourth grader throws it around like a lot, and I'm like, that's not what bullying is.
And we
So I
do-
think we need to really work on that.
Yeah,
as
and
well.
PBIS does talk about that, so our guidance counselors do go in and talk about that. We also talk a lot about it with families, when the issues come up, where families don't understand what it is.
Yeah.
But we've been singing this tune for a long
Oh, yeah.
time, right?
It
Because,
goes way back.
yeah, it
Oh,
goes
yeah.
way back, you know? And I think, going back to when I was a kid, right? If you were a nudge, you were a bully, right? So there's still that connotation that goes along with that. But I will tell you that we're taking it very seriously and making sure that we are very thorough our investigations related to that.
I took a stick to some boys that were bullying the little kids in our neighborhood.
There you go.
So I picked up a deck wrench and whacked them.
Not while she was a teacher in the office.
This is while I was like 12. Yeah.
For a second, I thought that's what you were.
This was yesterday.
I can see her running down the street.
Through the chair, I think that so much has changed, right? When we were kids, we went home. That was our safe place, right? And it was gone. We didn't have to.
Yeah.
Now with social media, it is following.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it
Goes into their bedrooms.
Yep.
Correct,
that-
exactly.
Yeah.
And that's a scary one for me with all the social media that's out there.
Yeah, the district attorney had a webinar that I'd sent out a couple of times for families to attend, and I went to the first round of it. And that was the most striking thing they said in that thing, was that, kids used to go up in their bedroom or come into the house and they were safe. And now they're carrying the stranger, the bully, and all that right into their bedroom.
And
It's
now you see a
frightening.
lot of kids making, I can kind of see it now because like my kids are at the age of social media and they don't do this. But you see and you hear a lot of fake accounts now as well. So they're getting it from all these multiple accounts that, and then there's half of them are fake. And they're just.
Well, interestingly, so I sent the survey out to the kids. I didn't send it out. The principals sent it out. And the teachers all knew it was coming when they completed the survey. But one response from one of the students was, I hope this isn't a scam. I'm not giving you my address. So good for you. Good for you. Right? Yeah. She answered the questions, but but didn't give any more information.
My own daughter didn't go to Auburn High because of the bullying. That she was in an 8th grade. And rather than let her continue into high school, we sent her to a private high school.
We're really working on it. Yeah. So I don't know if anyone has any questions or thoughts about, it does tie to the next document as well.
I have a question. Oh, I'm sorry, Gail.
No.
Did you want to, you're good? All right.
Just don't know.
You were talking about the training for teachers and what is Safe Schools?
That's a department of DESI.
Okay. Okay.
They offer training related to transgender and LGBTQ students. They have a speaker who is unbelievably dynamic. Actually, he's the head of the department, I guess, that part of DESI. So a lot of that comes right from them.
Okay, great.
they're
Great.
great.
Wondering,
Yep.
yeah. Okay, good. All right, did you have? Nope. Nope, you're good. All right. All righty. Looks good.
Okay, the next item is the ongoing strategic plan. That seems like is going on forever, but it's not an easy project. So so as you know, we had a strategic plan that started back in 2018. There's been a lot of transition in the district. We since conducted an equity audit. So last summer, there was a group of parents, staff, students, and teachers and administrators who got together to try and merge what was still remaining of the strategic plan, what was in the equity audit, and to put that all together. So some work happened in the summer. We narrowed down some of the categories and some of the areas. And then as we talked more and more about this, I was like, but we still need more information from more families. Right? So that was what precipitated the surveys and the listening sessions that I conducted with families and students and staff. And so that information was then added to this and tweaked. I have shared this, I'm sharing this with you. I've also shared this with the initial committee that worked last summer because I bet you we had 5 meetings anyway, So they committed a good amount of time and written feedback that they gave. So I sent it out to them as well, to say, remember what we had last summer, this is where it sits now, what do you think? Hoping for some feedback there. I'm leaving this with you tonight. I'm not looking for any action or anything tonight, but hoping you can take some time to look through it. And then I feel like between now and then, I'm also gonna go through it with the principals, and then at the next meeting, we'll see where we stand to see if we move forward as a final plan. But just so you know, this is, online. You can see it online, and on this first page, each of the categories that's in blue is a live link.
Okay.
And so I've printed it for you, so you have it all in writing. But if we just look at the very first box that you see, enhance social emotional learning supports district-wide under teaching and learning. So if you clicked on that, you would come to the next page, which has 3 items. It says enhance social emotional learning. It has phase-in of the universal screener, continue to enhance connections with outside agencies, and ensure cohesive SEL programming district-wide. Okay, does everybody see that on the next page? So now you'll see the people responsible for this and what our proposed timeline is for completion. But these are also live links, each of those 3, the phase-in of the universal screener. And so if you clicked on one of those, it would bring you to the next page. And at the top, it says detailed enhanced social emotional supports. And this breaks down a little more completely some of the actual actions that will take place. So it's a little bit honestly funky on paper, but I felt like you might want it printed, but we can certainly send out the link so that you can go through it in a live way rather than flipping from page to page. But I would ask that, you can take a look at this, and we've had numerous conversations about the focus groups and surveys, and you all speak with folks, that in town. Are there things that we missed? Are there things we should focus on? I mean, it can go on and on forever. My hope with this particular plan is that it's really focused for the next 3 years, right? That would actually bring us almost to the end of the initial term of what it was meant to be. And thinking that now in 2 years' time, we're starting this whole process again, but this time it would be from scratch, right? This time it would be going back to the very beginning. This kind of gets us through a little bit of a transitional time in the Auburn Public Schools with the change in leadership and all of that, so that to be undertaking this from scratch at this point, I think would kind of leave us a bit in the lurch. And so that's why I approached it this way, but knowing that in another couple of years, the whole process will start again.
I think I'll sit that process out finally. I'm pretty
That's
sure
a
this
big
is like
one.
my 8th year.
Yeah,
doing
that's
this.
a big process. That's a big
But
process.
yeah, no, it's come a long way, and there are so many dedicated people that have been doing this from the start. So
Yeah, and there's been a lot of voice in coming up with this. So this wasn't just me and Mr. Keller sitting in my office and putting this together. There have been a lot of people involved, and I'm still seeking feedback. So I welcome whatever you might bring back, so that we can really drive us forward for the next few years.
It's very in-depth. Very good job.
yeah, and you changed the whole rubric, like the whole setup of it.
Yeah.
So that alone must have taken forever.
Well,
It's much easier to understand.
I'm curious, once we really start adding in some of the, as we begin to move, like with our updates, I think that's what made the last document almost unwieldy. It was just so much.
Right.
But I'm hoping this works a little bit better, but time will tell, so.
Right. Thank you.
So that'll be on the next agenda, so we can come back, ask any questions, and maybe even table it one more time if there are changes that need to be made till we get to a final draft.
Great. All right. Thank you. All right. Sounds good. All right, Mr. Keller, we're moving on to your teaching and learning report.
All right, yeah, so although not necessarily teaching and learning, I wanted to talk, and Dr. Chamberlain kind of stole my thunder a little bit, talking about the bullying piece as part of her entry findings, but we all know that if students don't feel safe and supported, it's very difficult, or anybody, and for that matter, it's very difficult to learn. So we've spent a lot of time as an administrative team looking at our bullying procedures and protocols. I think everybody here knows that an act relative to bullying was passed in 2014, requiring school districts to implement and be regularly reviewing bullying policies and procedures. And we do that but it's also really important to make sure that we're looking at it and regularly updating ourselves on it, because there's a lot to it. And when you're leading a bullying investigation, it can be really easy to miss a piece here and there. So we put together a protocol that's, you know, on this grid that is relatively easy for administrators in the buildings to go through. Ultimately, the goal is to make sure that students feel safe and supported. I actually didn't include it in there, sorry. You don't, no, but I'm happy to share that for you to take a look at. But
We've seen it before.
but ultimately, it's around prevention and intervention, right? And so it's making sure that we're following proper procedures when we initially receive a report. So that's that initial receipt, and we're launching the investigation within the appropriate time frame, and we're reporting findings back to parents and having conversations with kids. It's reviewing and developing a safety and support plan. So the safety plan is to make sure that the student feels safe in the school, that we're putting interventions in place to make sure, to restore a sense of safety, and the support plan for the alleged aggressor, to ensure that we're also addressing any concerns that we might have regarding that person. And then ultimately, you know, in both in kind of Brooke's comments and Samantha's comments around education, making sure that all students have the skills and knowledge and strategies to prevent or respond to bullying, but also the parental piece too. Like, it's making sure that parents understand what bullying is, because a lot of times, you know, kids call things bullying that aren't necessarily bullying. Parents may call things bullying, and it's working together as a community to make sure that we understand what bullying is, that we're building resilience in our kids, so that they can also be prepared to be independent learners, but ultimately ensuring that we're protecting each kid and reporting those findings appropriately. So that's some of the work that we're doing, and I think that we're in a place now where we have a pretty strong protocol, but that is always something that changes. We have to review, as you know, our bullying plan every 2 years, so but it's ongoing work and making sure that we're all educated on that piece.
It's
great.
awful.
Yeah, it is. It's like an insidious disease, because the kids don't realize they've been bullied until it's kind of too late.
Yeah.
And they don't tell their parents, and they don't tell their friends, and they just kind of try and deal with it themselves.
Yeah, and there's so many ways, like to your point, Brooke, it's like kids are on stage all the time. Like when we were kids, you could go home and just like take a breath and be yourself, and now it's like they're always having to be something and be somebody. And
It's exhausting.
for our viewing audience, I always feel like the best thing that I've heard from parents over the years is they do not allow phones in the kids' bedrooms. And like, there's a common place downstairs, and we keep those phones out of the bedrooms. And so
Yeah,
I think that's
so that you know what's going on.
Yeah.
And I will say, I'm sorry, the process there, it's a lengthy, in-depth process. It's a lot of work. So, I mean, in the past, it's been easy to just be like, well, we'll let this one slide, we'll let this one slide. But I think putting a focus on it and saying, we have to do the work, like you have to file it, you have to go through the motions.
Yeah.
I think it's the only way we're going to create change, you know, so.
And I feel like the reality is that it needs to be every 2 years, because, I mean, these kids are smart, and they
Yeah,
find new
they
ways.
outwit us.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
And it's tough to keep up with.
We've also talked a lot about the importance of restorative practices and the role it plays in all this, because while, you know, schools have long been looked at, right, as where you learn to read and write and to do math, we have to teach a lot more than that now, you know, and kids' responsibility to one another as human beings is one of those things, and that's what happens through restorative practices. Trying to help kids to see, well, what was the impact of what you did?
Yeah,
And so we're doing a lot of work around that too. That's really important, because you know what we know now? You can suspend kids. It doesn't change the behavior.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
just gets them out of the building for a few
Yeah,
days.
it does.
You know?
Yeah, totally.
Through the chair, I think that as someone who was bullied very badly in school from like up through 5th grade, like I, to this day, like wish that someone had taken my bullies aside and explained to them like what they were doing and how hurtful it was. And I am forever grateful that I did not have a phone, because I think that it would have changed my experience. But with that said, we do have children that do have phones. We just need to be so understanding of that. And I think having something that all the principals follow and all the staff know that this is how we handle it is going to make it just cohesive. And I think that's important, that I know that if I go from Swiss to Auburn Middle to Auburn High, like if this is occurring, then this is how we fix it. And I think that when I was in school, there wasn't that, and there wasn't enough conversation. I think, understanding and being able to tell the students, like, this is why, when you do this, this is how, that restorative justice piece is important. Because as you said, suspending kids is not going to change behavior. It might make it worse. So.
And the tip line, I think that's a good, whatever kid, that's a really great idea. If we could do that.
I know, we're gonna give it our best shot.
Yeah.
What a fantastic.
What a come.
Good. Alrighty. Well, enough of that. Cecilia, it's your turn.
It's a tough act to follow.
I know. Yeah.
I'll try.
You can do it.
Good evening, everyone.
Believe in you.
In your pack, I wanted to bring forward the bid proposal for Phase 3 of the Bryn Mawr sprinkler that was posted on December 21st, 2022 by Nault Architects, who worked on the design plan, along with Mr. Joseph Fahey. The bid was put out to bid and it closed on January 11th, 2023 at 2 p.m. Carlisle Engineering was the sole bidder and came in with a price of $114,220 for the project. The districts worked with Carlisle on the previous phases of the sprinkler and would like to award the bid and enter into a contract agreement with the vendor to complete Phase 3 of the project. The project funds have been previously allocated for the project through capital improvement, the capital improvement budget, and voted on at town meeting. So the district's seeking the committee's approval to award the bid and then to proceed to enter into a contract with Carlisle for the project. And this will almost complete the project at Bryn Mawr. There is one part of the Bryn Mawr, the basement, that won't be done with this Phase 3. The money, it still came out a little bit more than what was anticipated with the rising costs of everything. So we will be looking down the road at going back to look at CIP funding for the remainder. The good thing is the rest of the remainder of the school after this project, everything will be done except for the basement. So, and water flows down.
Yeah. Do you have classrooms or libraries or anything?
Yeah,
in the
everything
basement?
will be protected.
They're,
so.
they're small group areas, so I think there's a conference room down there. There's like, the reading specialist is down there, so she has only a small group of students off and on throughout the day, like not even all day, because sometimes she's in classrooms. And I think there's a speech room down there where they do speech therapy, and then the teachers' lunchroom. So it's a very small area downstairs.
Okay. I know Packagug, there's like the library and
Yeah.
huge,
Yeah.
But there's also like a door, like right there to get right out.
Well, and there is at Bryn Mawr as well. There's
Well, that's
it goes
what-
out the other side, the
Yeah,
side.
yeah, that's small down there.
Yeah.
Very small.
Alrighty.
You know, so I was just looking for your support or approval on that, if possible.
All right. Can I get a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to award the bid and approve the superintendent to enter into a contract with Carlisle Engineering for the completion of Phase 3 of the Bryn Mawr sprinkler system in accordance with the bid proposal and documents prepared by Nault Architects Incorporated.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You know, it'd be good. Is that the last school that needed a sprinkler system?
Yes, pretty much. The reason for this was when we added the modular,
It-
it was
it made the
required by
capacity.
law, right?
Oh,
So I mean, we do have the sprinkler systems in place, it's just that it requires more extensive
Yep.
sprinklers and stuff, and it's very costly, so,
Yeah,
you know, and when you only.
yeah, I remember when we started, it was like 300,000 back then even.
Right, yep.
Yeah.
So we will move forward on getting some more funding for the remainder of that, but at least we get this part of it done and be close to, we'll be in compliance though. So.
Good.
all right, good.
All right, I've also provided in your budget a year-to-date budget report dated January 26th for your review, and along with that, a listing of budget transfers dated January 26th between the same series for your information and between different series for which I'm seeking your approval. Happy to answer any questions you might have on the budget or journal entries.
And seek a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the list of transfers dated January 26, 2023, as presented by the business manager.
Second.
Okay, any questions for Cecilia?
Looks good.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well, thank you
It's
very
a
much,
vote.
and that's my report.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and do we need executive session?
We do not.
All right, let's seek a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's a vote. Good night, everyone.
Good night.